Alrighty, now, a lot of the feats, the standard feats, are been tinkered with slightly just to fit the rules that variation that this set is, but some of them are unique. Now, I'm going to give you an example here. Alright, melee combat feats. The axe basics. The bite of your axe isn't limited to the reach of your arm. You need to have the prerequisite of the edged forte, another class ability. Benefit. When you wield an axe, it gains hurl, and you gain a stance, a combat stance. It's called Punish the Defiant. It's labeled Stance. Opponents who haven't moved since your initiative count last round are denied their dexterity bonus to defense against your melee attacks. Okay? Now, next in that chain is called Axe Mastery. First the shield, then the swishy thing behind it. That's the color, the flavor text. Prerequisites, Axe Basics. Benefit. When you wield a one-handed axe, it gains bleed, and when you wield a two-handed axe, it gains guard +2. Also, you gain a trick called Sundering Chop. Your attack also inflicts the same damage on one piece of gear on the target's person, your choice. So you hit the person, you hurt them, and you hurt their gear. Okay, next, Axe Supremacy. Mortal Man or Mighty Oak. Your sweeping blade cuts them all down with ease. Prerequisite, Axe Mastery. You're seeing a theme here, I'm sure. Benefit, your strength score rises by 1, and you gain a trick. It's called Cleave in Twain. If your target is a standard character with a lower strength score than yours, he immediately fails his damage save. Damage isn't rolled, and you may use this attack. You may use this trick once per round. I'll explain damage saves later. But every single combat feat in this, almost all of them, are chains like this. And let me tell you, folks, this makes combat feats, melee feats, ranged feats, all of them worth something. They're interesting. They're flavorful. They are not boring in the least. And I was just so happy with how they executed this. It is so well done. It just made me smile when I started reading these. I'm like, oh, this is a great idea. Of course, my wife probably thought I was like a grinning idiot sitting there reading this book while pedaling, because I'm exercising while I'm doing it. The other types of feats are chance feats, which, again, are all about being a lucky person, gaining more bonus dice and using them in different ways and having more flexibility. Covert feats, sneaky rogue stuff. Gear feats, how to optimize the use of the tech you have on you. Armor, tools, things like that. Skill feats, again, things that emphasize your skills. Species feats, I talked about those earlier. Spellcasting feats, be better at spellcasting. Style feats, these are like the social things, like how to be better at fooling people or intimidating people or ingratiating yourself into a social situation. And terrain feats, very rangery, druidy kind of stuff, how to take advantage of the terrain around you and really get, become one with the land kind of stuff. Next we have all kinds of things about spellcasting. Arcane spellcasters, divine spellcasters, the schools of magic, spellcasting, spells, and alphabetic list of spells. Now, this is a skill-based spellcasting system. Okay? So, you want to cast a spell, it has a DC, you roll that DC or higher, you cast it. Okay? And you have a number of spell points you spend every day that tells you how many spells you can cast, and each spell uses up more spell points. Think of the psionic system from your standard 3.5 OGL system. Very similar. And if it's a combat feat, like you want to be shooting with something and has it to hit, the DC of their defense is also factored into that. So if the spell's a DC of, say, 15, but their armor class is 18, you need to beat the 18, okay? You would obviously also beat the 15 at the same time, so it's 2 for 1 kind of thing. The spell descriptions are all the standard stuff in here that you're used to seeing. A couple of them were oddly very short. Like literally, I'm reading this and I'm like, there is nothing more here to read. I don't quite grasp why that couple of these spells really seem to lack detail when everything else in this book is so incredibly detailed. So I was a little confused by that. I may go to their boards and find out why. Next, we have something called the Forge, and this is all the things in the game that are the physical stuff, the equipment. And one thing I liked is this is a silver-based system. I have always preferred a silver-based economic system. It makes so much more sense than a gold-based system. Of course, there is still gold in the world, but it is not the coin that your average person is going to see. Your average peasant is probably never going to lay their eyes on a gold piece. And that's the way it should be. I've always used a silver-based system. Lifestyle gear, every class has a lifestyle score which affects your ability to know how much you have for money and how good you are at saving, how flashy you are, things like that. So there's social mechanics built into the rules of this game. General equipment, supplies, consumables, elixirs, food, drink, you know, that kind of consumables. Armor, weapons, and they break them down into blunt weapons, edge weapons, hurled weapons, bows, black powder weapons, siege weapons, and weapon upgrades. Things that you can do to improve, for example, a dwarven crafted weapon, for example. Contacts, you can invest in contact, which is very good. Holdings, you know, physical places you own. And, of course, magic items. Then we get into combat. Now, combat here, the attacks are very similar to what you're used to in OGL. You have a defense bonus. Every class has a defense bonus. Armor provides you with damage resistance, and it also usually provides you with some kind of damage assistance of some variety. For example, leather armor gives you a damage energy resistance against fire. The chainmail damage resistance is against slashing as opposed to everything. So actually, it's worth more slashing than it is in other things. So that's how the armor is. And not to mention, armor is also a physical thing you can attach to your body, which then lets you carry magical bonuses around. Armor is also basically the chest area, helmet. That's your base armor. You can then tack on arms and sleeves. So everything is kind of medium, but if you tack on more stuff, it becomes heavy. So it's a construction kind of toolkit kind of concept there. Interesting idea. I don't know if it's better or worse, but I've never seen it before, so that was kind of cool. Then you deal with healing, different kind of conditions. You can, the shaken, sicken, things like that. Oh, yes. Now, you're talking about damage saves. Now, this game recognizes, like Savage World does, is that characters are special. So they're called special characters. Standard characters are your mooks, your orcs, your kobolds that are just standard guys that are in the way. They don't get hit points. What they do get is a damage resistance. So you hit them, you try to beat their damage resistance. It's an opposed roll. And if they make the damage resistant roll based on the damage you've done to them, they are still up, but they're kind of fatigued. They can keep, you whittle them down, or if they fail, boom, they're gone. Okay? So you could literally just swathing through people with your weapon, which is kind of nice. Speeds things up, gives it a nice cinematic flair. It also gives you a chance for a guy who's really lucky to make it to the end of a fight and really show that he's tough, which is kind of an interesting idea. Now, there's also steps in here for building NPCs, and this is the most comprehensive system for generating NPCs I have ever seen. It allows you to tailor every single characteristic, ability, power, trait, everything. It is amazing. I would never use it on a daily basis, but it would let you create some really cool, powerful NPCs, and we're gonna go further.